everyone, and welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. I'm Jill, and welcome to the September episode. Joining me today are Ben, Becca, Claire, John, and Peter.
Hi everyone.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Now, you don't need me to tell you that this year has been a bit of a strange one, and many of us have had to change our holiday plans. Peter and I have postponed our Tokyo holiday, and several of us have postponed plans to visit the US. And on behalf of all of us, I want to send you a great big socially distanced hug. I'm sure that all of us will use the extra time to save up for an even bigger and better holiday next year. Now, at the time of recording, we can't even visit our beloved Disneyland Paris, as the government are making us drink Ovaltine for 14 nights when we get home, or something. Or was it 14 nights of Glotinis? That doesn't sound too bad. However, Peter and I are hoping to visit again in a couple of months. And our fellow wafflers, Ben and Becca, managed to get away for a couple of days there not long ago. So, of course, I thought I'd ask all about their trip. How did your trip go, guys?
It was so good to be back in a Disney park.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think it's probably one of our best ever Disney trips. And even only going in for 3 nights, we managed to fit so much in. Weather was great. We had a bit of rain, and it was hot as well, so I felt a little bit like Florida.
So we stayed at the Cheyenne, which we stayed at for 1 night last year, so it was quite nice to get a couple more nights in there. Actually get a proper feel for the resort.
Even with all the social distancing measures and masks, didn't make any difference. It just felt even more magical being back there.
Yeah, can I ask as well though, Ben? I know it's quite frustrating for a lot of us, you know, when you're going into shops in the UK and so on, and you put your mask on and stuff like that. How was the mask, you know, particularly when it's warm and, you know, at Disneyland Paris?
We've got the sort of cotton masks, and we
used a mix of the cotton masks and disposable masks, because in France you have to wear them all the time if you're outside, and recommendation is that you change them every 3 to 4 hours or so.
No,
so you tend to have to change them a couple of times a day.
And I've also seen your pictures on Instagram, so you've got some fantastic masks as well to take away with you.
We did. We brought those back in June, I think, for what was going to be our Florida trip before we cancelled that. I have problems because I wear glasses, so when I breathe, my glasses have a tendency to get a bit misted up if my mask's not on quite right. So sometimes I had to have a bit of a fiddle with the mask, but apart from that, not really any issues with the masks. Really. I wear them for work 8, 9 hours a day, so I'm kind of used to it anyway.
Well, the funny thing was, we got so used to wearing them, when we come back into the UK, we got asked by border control to remove our mask, and we thought, I'm wearing a mask. Just because we got so used to wearing them out there, it just becomes second nature. We did occasionally leave the room and forget.
Once. We forgot to put them on once. Thankfully, we were only going to get a cup of coffee.
But yeah, we just got a mask put on, but yeah, it was really good out there. The social distance is 1 metre, so it's a bit different at home where it's 2. But even with that, everyone's sticking to it. I think in the queue lines you've got sort of metre squares to stand in, so you've got a sign that says please do not stand here. The only problem we found with that was when you had a larger group of like 4, 5 or 6 people. But other than that, it's just sort of you look ahead, see how far they are, and at least keep a metre.
It's a bit like driving, you just have to plan ahead.
Yeah. I saw some great photos of selfies with the characters. Those seem to be really well organised.
They are. They're really good fun as well.
I really hope they stay after the pandemic as well, because I think these are a great way, because haven't always been the biggest fan of characters, just because I don't see sometimes if there's a character it'd be nice just to have a photo with. I don't really want to queue up for half an hour if someone wants to hug or have an autograph. It's quite a nice sort of mix.
In Walt Disney World, they're not doing the meets the same way. In fact, they're hardly doing any meets at all.
They're doing a few selfie spots in Walt Disney World.
Right, okay.
You've got things like Winnie the Pooh, but they're doing more of a... I'd say it's the same... It's a bit more planned in Disneyland Paris than it is for Walt Disney World.
Yeah,
It's a bit more spontaneous in Walt Disney World, where in DLP you've got quite a few that... like you've got Donald like at the front of the park.
Yeah.
You've got like the Marvel characters where it's certain times of the day that you go and see in the studios. And then you've got to use the Line Bertie app as well for the Frozen one, which, funny enough...
We managed to get...
Yeah.
Wow.
On our last morning,
Yeah.
we managed to get a Line Bertie for the Frozen characters.
That is a successful trip because Line Bertie is not the easiest app to negotiate.
I mean, it's probably a bit difficult for us to say how different the selfie spots are from Walt Disney World to Disneyland Paris because we don't have that experience with Walt Disney World. We've only got what we've seen on other people's vlogs, and it's not a fair representation.
So it creates a different sort of feeling. We had a few characters that... I think, was it Geppetto that we met, and it felt a little bit of... He was there was hardly any queue, but it wasn't really particularly great interaction. Where we saw Donald, a 5-10 minute wait, and it was amazing.
It was amazing. He was so funny.
You're not telling me that your Geppetto interaction was wooden, are you?
Of course, John.
Hey!
The thing is, we met Geppetto last February in Cafe Mickey, and he was brilliant. His interaction in there. So it was probably just his friend.
You're not lying there, are you?
Oh.
Yeah, I was saying that we did do a few rides we haven't yet done before. So
And
it was
that we probably will never do again.
what was the one? I'm not going to say it in French, but
The
it was
Voyage
the
of Pinocchio or
Pinocchio one and the
and
Snow,
the Snow
White
White
one.
The Pinocchio one's just freaky, people.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't do either of those because they properly freak me out. I love Disneyland Paris, but Snow White and Pinocchio are never on the menu because they are nightmare-inducing.
They were only 5-minute waits. I found Pinocchio worse
There's a
than Snow
reason why.
White.
To us, they weren't even
But
5
normally
minutes. We
they're
walked
not.
straight on.
They're like 15 minutes or something.
Half an hour.
I don't even like the film of Pinocchio, so the ride is not happening.
Also, neither of the rides are particularly in story order.
Yeah. Snow
No,
White.
they're not. No, Snow White.
What about the storybook boats?
I was disappointed.
I think I was getting mixed up with one that's in Tokyo or possibly Disneyland because I thought it was something different to what it actually turned out to be.
Glad we did it.
Did you manage to do Casey Jr.?
No.
Oh.
There was a
Sorry,
bit of a queue
Claire.
for that one.
There was actually a queue, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
If you can call 20 minutes a queue.
at that time we were getting a bit hungry.
Right.
So we did have...
So can I ask you, did the park feel busy? Or did it
Not particularly.
Did it feel
We've been in Disneyland Paris twice before, so February half term and the same weekend last year, and this felt empty. It felt like it was a hard ticketed event at times.
gosh.
Right.
But also, I know a lot of people commented on some of our live videos saying, oh, it looks busy there, it's a bit different, but it's more perspective. It's difficult when you're filming and when you just see one picture. You don't see everything that's happening around you.
No.
Especially when you stop and
No.
you see a lot of people walking, it's a bit different.
I think that's a really good point, that Ben, because I think I've seen pictures of a lot of parks. I'm not going to say, Universal, Walt Disney World, throughout all of their parks, and also Disneyland Paris, and it depends on how positive the people who are actually taking the photo are to put on their blog or onto their news channel or whatever. And I find some of it is so deceiving and deliberately trying to put people off. And I think that's so unfair when going from a lot of things I've read, and obviously from your experience, it has been, you can see the lengths that Disney are actually going to actually make it a pleasurable experience. I take my hat off to both of you, because I think to be able to come back and give such an amazing sort of description of being able to go there, and I think there's so many people who are listening to this, and I'm one. When everyone's listening to this, I should have been in Disneyland Paris, and I'm not going to be. And that's as heartbreaking as that is. I can park it, but I still think for a lot of people who are listening, please, take some sort of positivity from what Ben and Becca are saying, because actually Disney is still there. They're still open. They're still trying to do their very best for every single one of us. And one day we'll all get to go back to any park throughout the world.
Yeah. We did also carry on another one of our Disneyland Paris traditions.
We broke a ride.
Yeah.
We got stuck on a ride.
Yeah, so
every time.
Last August, we got stuck for 45 minutes on Small World. So, as you've probably heard before, 45 minutes isn't the greatest thing when the music gets turned off. You hear safety announcements and the dolls keep moving.
Especially when the person sitting next to you doesn't like China dolls.
So what did you break this time?
A Big Thunder Mountain.
Because we asked for the back row.
It was
best
the back row.
No, the
best row. The best back row.
Yeah.
I love the back row of Big Thunder is actually better than the front, because the hang as you're going up the hill, you're not forced on the hang on the down. You're basically straight over the top. Just a little bit of advice for anyone who wants to ride Big Thunder.
And the one at DLP is the best Big Thunder.
Oh, isn't it just?
Yeah.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Even I would say that was just. It's the tunnel bit.
Yeah.
And then that look back, and you realise that you've actually gone under the lake. Yeah. Really, really fantastic bit of imagineering.
And I think the brilliant thing is when you just about to sort of get into the queue, you see the train pull in, and it just sort of that's just where it's all going to start.
You're nearly there. And to put the busyness and queues into perspective, normally Big Thunder Mountain in Paris has a minimum queue wait of about 90 minutes or so during the day. 30-minute queue
was the longest
we saw. The longest we saw for Big
On
Thunder
average,
Mountain
when we
Railroad.
got in the queue, it was either 5, 10 or 15 minutes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. It takes about 10 minutes normally to get...
Just to walk round it, yeah.
Yep. We walked round into Discoveryland, which we keep calling Tomorrowland. And we went by Hyperspace Mountain. Several times throughout the day, it was 5-minute wait.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only...
Did you ride it?
No.
What do you mean, did they ride it, Claire? There was no way. There's no way the million years are going on.
Oh, you can go join Jill's team.
Yeah.
I am never going to knock anybody for not going on Space Mountain or not going on anything, because I am
Do you
Queen.
know what? I will happily go on it.
We did go on Indy, though.
Yeah. I think what it was...
Yeah, that's how I'm impressed with that. I think one of the things as well, and obviously until we got forced to cancel, my kids have actually been watching an awful lot of the wait times and using the app and stuff like that, and the wait times in particular was something that they were looking forward to. So really, apart from not being able to go and saving my bad back from being on sort of totally sort of bad play on Space Mountain, I'm quite...
It'd be worse than Indiana Jones, trust me.
Oh, it doesn't matter, Peter. I'm a junkie for going on roller coasters and stuff. So
I have to say though, both Space Mountain and Big Thunder are open during Extra Magic time.
Yeah.
So if the Fantasyland rides are not your bag and you want to hit the thrills, go first thing.
No, it's good.
It's
good, and I think as well, and I think Ben and Becca, I think, I know I know there's a sacrifice to be made on your behalf, and I again I admire you for that. But I think you've just gone and had a blast, and it really is. It's such a brilliant experience to just come back home and just sort of look back on what you've actually achieved. The photos that you took, and also the memories that you're going to have is just like exactly what everybody wants from a Disney holiday.
Regardless of quarantine, if you're going out now or in the next few months, pay for PhotoPass. Just do it.
I was going to say they've added magic photoshops all around the parks.
Finally!
We've got 90 photos of the whole weekend.
Oh wow!
And it was worth every penny.
And in
That's brilliant.
February we got 10?
8.
8.
Yeah.
When we went last year, we got annual passes, and so we got the annual photo pass, and that has finally just now been sorted because it got lost in the ether. Ours has now turned up, and we did actually have a magic shot from last year. They were trialing them last year, but it looks like they've really taken it and run with it, because some of the magic shots that are there now look
We've got
amazing.
Stitch, Phantom from Phantom Manor.
We got The Lion King, we got Ratatouille, or Remy I should say.
Aladdin's Lamp.
Aladdin's Lamp, Rex. I think we managed to get most of them. But what's
Right.
really, really good is not only are the photographers absolutely brilliant, really friendly, they'll ask you if you want them done together or individually. So we've actually got individual shots of us on photos,
Yeah.
which we don't normally have. But they also check the photos after they've taken them. Before they put them onto
Right.
your photo pass, they will look at their camera, look at the pictures they've taken, and then put them on. So if there's something wrong with them, which we didn't
Don't
have,
get on.
I reckon they would take them again,
Yeah.
Wow.
which I was really impressed with.
Okay.
And talking to people who worked there, you were saying that the CMs were really good this time.
They were. Everyone was. It was almost like they seemed really happy to be back.
And you could feel it. There was just like that relief that they're back doing what they want to do. And I'm not sure whether any cast member changes have happened over the past few months, but they all seem to be putting on just that extra bit of show, that extra bit of magic. And maybe it's just because we're back where we belong,
Yeah,
which is one of the lines from that song, which makes you cry quite a lot.
it does. Every time
Yeah.
I heard that song, it made me
I've
cry.
always found that the CMs at DLP, if you actually talk to them, especially if you start with bonjour, even if that's the only French you've got, they blossom, and they absolutely love to chat with you. And just because they're not all be my best friend, come over for dinner next week like some of the American ones are, but they're still great people, and there's a real pride that we found in some of the CMs we've talked to. So that's really good to hear. Oh, and the other thing that I absolutely loved seeing from your videos was the welcome show in the morning with the characters.
It's not just in the morning as well. It's throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I think they do it for the first couple of hours of the morning and the last half an hour
Yeah.
Yeah.
as you're leaving.
And the brilliant thing is when you get, as the park is closing, when they've got the characters up on the station, you expect lots of crowds. But actually the CMs are there with signs saying stay 1 metre apart, and they're not forceful, but it's working really well. But talking of there was a lot of thing I noticed on social media on Thursday and Friday, that with Rhythm of the Pride's Land debuting last weekend, we were out there, that social distancing wasn't happening, but when we were there, it was brilliant. It was spaced. We lucked out on our seats because we were next to where there were some people that I think had Disney VP logos written on of their badges. They were just there.
They seemed to be very important people, whoever they were.
And we were next to like the MasterCard seating, and we had a great view, and the social distancing was done really well. It was perfect, and the line Bertie app worked for that on
Wow.
second attempt.
They're- wow.
But yeah,
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. That's amazing. It sounds like you had a fantastic time at Disneyland Paris, and DLP seemed to be really dealing well with making the parks a safe and an enjoyable experience for everybody. And I'm really glad to hear that the hand sanitizer doesn't wash off pixie dust. Now, speaking of Disneyland Paris, I cannot be the only one who's noticed that lots of people seem to be going there for the first time this year. Perhaps because, like us, they want a way to get a little taste of Disney without crossing the big pond. So we thought that we would share our favourite DLP tips and tricks for first-timers, or indeed for anyone wanting to get the most out of their time at DLP. So, guys, what are your best DLP tips and tricks? Let's start with Claire.
Oh, how long have you got? Honestly, so I have been to DLP now upwards of 35 times, and I'm really lucky. I'm a member of the DLP Dream Team. of the 2020 and also been recontracted for 2021, which means I get to spend what little spare time I have online supporting guests to have an amazingly magical time via the DLP website. There are a few things that I always tell people. One is that you can walk from the front of the park in the Disneyland park all the way to the back by Pirates of the Caribbean, completely undercover. If you take the arcade to the left of Main Street and then follow it up, you can stay undercover through the fort, out the other side of Adventureland, and then track it all the way around past Aladdin's lamp up towards Pirates. And you don't need to get wet because, funnily enough, Disneyland Paris, it does get a bit wet sometimes. So I always say that keep an eye on that. It's also quite a quick route. It's probably the quickest route from front to back if you were heading to Peter Pan or Pirates of the Caribbean first thing in the morning. My other brilliant tips are about I'm a bit obsessed with my toilets. And this is applicable both to Disneyland Paris and also Walt Disney World. The toilets are the automated flush toilets, which if you have a small person who is either potty training or a bit nervous, make sure you have a park map or something in your pocket so that when they sit on the toilet, it doesn't automatically flush. Having been through that trauma several times, if you cover over the laser, it won't flush. And then they can do whatever they need to do and then jump off. And then you can move the park map and the toilet doesn't flush on them, which is not a very nice experience and might cause you issues later down the line, having been there. And I would say the other top tip I have is about if there's a parade on and where you view the parade. So I have my two favourite parade spots, which are my tried and tested mum, I need a beverage, but also, and I'm not talking necessarily an alcoholic beverage. I know that that's the usual for me and everyone says that, but I need a drink. And also I need to be not that far from the loos if I've got a child with me. So my first place is near Small World if you were facing the great big gates next to Small World where the parade tends to come out. Just on the facing them directly, either side of the road is fine. Right there, so you can catch the parade as it arrives. Just leaves those gates, and then you can get off and do the rest of Adventureland or Fantasyland, Frontierland, while the parade is going down Main Street. The other spot is the spot that I like for the parade at the end of the day. So quite often at Disneyland Paris, you'll find the parade is about 5:30 in the evening. I go at the bottom of Main Street. As you're looking up the street on the right hand side, right near where the car barn is where the horses come in and out first thing in the morning. There is a trash can and a tree. If you stand in between them, no one can stand in front of you and they can't push you out of the way. The loos are right behind you and you can grab a drink from Main Street while you're waiting. So and it's the perfect bit because you get the most amazing photos as the parade comes around the bottom of Main Street because it comes towards you rather than going away from you down on that spot. And if you are hitting the park, heading straight out the park afterwards and you're going off for dinner or up to Disney Village or into the Disneyland Hotel to have a drink in Cafe Fantasia, not that I've ever done that, you are right next to the park exit and you can beat everybody out. So those are three of my top tips, but I'm sure I'm going to chip in with more as we keep going.
What about you, John?
I've got to admit, Disneyland Paris, for us, has always proved to be the biggest tip that we could give anybody is to take a coat. Because it's always been cold. It's the only holidays we've ever had. I've got the kids, and we're all wrapped up, and we've all got hats on and gloves on and things like that. And that's just because of the time of year that we've actually visited, and that sets it apart amongst all of the holiday photos. It's really strange because you're now looking at so many years, and you're looking at your kids growing up, and you then sort of decide that, well, actually, my photos to Disneyland Paris, perhaps of the kids with the hat on, are not quite as good as the ones that has got the sun beaten on you, which is not very fair on Disneyland Paris. But I'm going to pick up on something that Claire actually said, and that was the one thing that I'd really picked out, is actually looking at the parade route, because at the very top where the gates are, where the parade comes out, is just amazing for photographs, because if you get the right spot, you've actually got the parade coming straight towards you for a very short period of time, but it allows for those pictures for people who enjoy taking pictures, because I do, and you get it without anybody in the way. And then as they turn, you're then left with a side-on view of each of the parade vehicles, and that really is something for me. I've got to admit, I've asked the whole family about tips that we could share with people, and possibly the best thing that I've got out of trying to do this is actually appreciate, you know, we gave a lovely mention in one of our past shows to somebody that I met last year called Abby, and then we cursed her trip to Florida, which was really sad, and I do apologise, Abby, because I know she listens to us. But actually, she did something which I think is something that a lot of people going to Disneyland Paris should actually do, and it's, you just turn around one day and you decide, look, forget everything else that's going on. Let's just book it, get on the train, go on holiday, and go and explore a park that actually is very, very magical and very underrated. And underrated by many people who go to Walt Disney World, I hasten to add, myself included. And I was delighted to read of Abby's wonderful time there. Hopefully she's forgiven us for the shout out that happened before she wasn't allowed to go to Florida. But it was lovely, and she's had a magnificent time simply by just booking it last minute and then just deciding to go. And I know that depends. It doesn't happen for us because we live in the north of the country, in case any of the listeners haven't sort of guessed from my accent. But if you live in the south of England, Disneyland Paris is very touchable, and you can actually get some really, really good bargains on the Eurostar. And know for a fact that if you're prepared to, certainly living around the Luton Airport area, you can actually get some really good deals from EasyJet as well. And be flexible. And I'm pretty sure that's why a lot of people have annual passes who live in the UK. Claire, go on.
I was going to say, actually, if you are happy driving in Europe, Disneyland Paris is extremely accessible if you'd want to drive. So I'm really lucky. I live in Kent, so that means that I can get to Folkestone in like 25 minutes. From when you come off the Eurotunnel, from literally the minute you leave the port to arriving at your hotel in Disneyland Paris or in the area, if you don't stop, it's about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it is literally, it's like two roads. So you just join the motorway, the autoroute, and it is a toll road. It will cost you about €22 each direction. You can pay with your card, you can pay with cash. It's very, very simple. It's a drive-through barrier. When you come at you go under the airport at Charles de Gaulle, and then you hang a right on a road.
It is hang a right.
It's a really tight turn. It's a really, really tight bend. Yeah. And then you are on the next road straight into Disneyland Paris, and it's so simple. Yeah. Even a Muppet can do it, and I
could. And
there we are.
That was the first time we went. So we drove. We drove the first time we went, and actually that wasn't an issue. No. The second time we flew from Luton. Again, that transfer from Charles de Gaulle to the parks is actually a very simple one, and then we also used the train to go into Paris for a day as well, which I know sounds sacrilege on a Disney podcast, but actually a little bit of culture was very good for us as a family. And this one we were going to go luxury. We were going to get the train down to King's Cross and stay overnight, Eurostar straight into Disney, and as it all happens, that's not going to happen. But those three different ways of actually getting there are things that I think a lot of people don't just discount. They always think, oh, I've got to drive, I've got to do this, and there's options, to do it last minute. And I think Disneyland Paris for a lot of people is an option for those who don't want to plan. They don't want to have that whole scenario. And I think in this particular time, I think if you get your time with booked in the park, then you're sorted.
I think you're right, John. For me, I mean, I could be in Disneyland Paris in 3.5 hours, so it would be really simple for me to nip there for lunch. I'm not going to do that, but it's often crosses my mind.
I can't even visit my mum in 3.5 hours.
Exactly,
and she lives in the UK. I'll tell you one thing. I'm moving down to your spot. Disneyland Paris. You'd rather go to visit my mum's house. A far better idea, Claire.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, when you were in Paris, was the Eiffel Tower straight?
Strangely enough, Ben, it was.
It was. I wonder where Disney got that idea.
Just adding that whole soaring experience of going out in Paris for like 25 beers, and then you get on this ride, and then like everything's sort of wonky by at least 40 degrees.
Gosh, you've got to have some money to have 25 beers in Paris.
Oh my God.
Too right.
Yeah. But I suppose something you mentioned, John, is about nipping into Paris from Disneyland Paris.
Oh, yeah.
So quick and easy. It's literally 2 stops on the train.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who stay off-site will get the train into Disneyland Paris from their hotel, which is in Val d'Europe. It's literally 3 minutes on the train directly into Marne Valley, which is right at the door to the park. So if anyone's worried about getting the train, I've done the Eurostar direct and also via Gare du Nord. I was anxious about that. It was really straightforward and not at all an issue. And one change at Châtelet. So it's very cheap as well. It's about €11, I think, on the train over from Paris Gare du Nord to Marne Valley. So it is straightforward. So getting there, I know I've seen lots of questions on social media and also forums saying, how hard is it to drive? It's not hard to drive. It's not hard to get the train. It's direct or indirect. It's also not hard to get the shuttle from Charles de Gaulle to Disneyland Paris. It's extremely accessible for us.
Yeah. We've never driven, but that's purely because every time we've looked at the prices versus us driving, sometimes the Eurostar's actually worked out cheaper for us. And it's like, if it's actually going to be not much difference in price, I'd rather just sit back and let someone else do the driving.
Oh, 100%, Ben.
And also, we know of people who've done the Hull Zeebrugge ferry and driven, and people who've flown from Manchester. We've flown from Cardiff in the past, so it's more accessible than people think, really.
It's like we did the Eurostar via Lille. For the first time last year, and that was brilliant, really was, and it saved the half the price than getting a direct train.
There earlier.
I think the other thing about getting the train, Ben, is I think we've all done the train at some point. Is to use the Disney Express service at the station at Marne Valley, which you can book if you're going on Eurostar. You can book it whether you're going direct, indirect. If you book it with Disneyland Paris or if you book it separately via the Eurostar website, you can pay. It's about £40, I think, and that's for both directions. You literally get off the train and you drop your bags in the station. And they give you a little ticket, and your bags will magically appear in your hotel in the luggage room. So you can you pick up your tickets for the park there if you booked a package, and then you can just head on into the parks and enjoy yourself and not worry about going all the way back to your hotel for your luggage. And when you're leaving, you drop your bags back at the luggage room and they appear at the station for you later on, which it's not too much of a bind walking backwards and forwards to the hotels. But if you're staying at the Santa Fe, it's a good 20-minute walk each way, and that would be, by the time you pick your bags up, it's an hour that you may not want to spend. You may want to spend that time experiencing another attraction or having a cup of coffee or whatever it looks like. So using the Disney Express service at the I think at the station is a really good idea if you're staying in one of the on-site hotels.
It was a godsend for us last August. We were literally there for one night. So by getting to the park about 12:15, being able to drop the bags off, and then first thing that next morning about 7 a.m, as soon as the luggage room opened, we put it there. We picked it up 5 o'clock, half an hour before our train.
Yeah. Can I just?
It's especially good if you're going on a short trip.
Oh yeah. Can I just add one last thing? And I know this is really recent. I'm not going to hark on about my cancelled trip again. I would also urge, and I know that if somebody's listening to this show when it's released for September the 1st, Eurostar have changed their routes significantly and we obviously were involved in that. Keep looking out as to what's available. It will change. It's going to change at some point as everything changes, and I think it's just worthwhile. People who are listening, just looking out for it, because that direct Eurostar straight into Manor Valley is just wonderful, and for it not to go, I think is a real shame. But it's again down to numbers, and it's down to trying to run your business according to what's out there. But yeah, for listeners who are listening to this and thinking I'm going to book direct train, they have sort of adjusted the timetable. So just do beware.
It's worth saying that they don't run the direct train every day.
No.
And even when they do, it's only once a day. But there are plenty of other options.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I say.
So yeah, don't panic if you can't find the direct train. Yeah.
I'm gutted. We've never managed to get that train straight in. And like Ben said, you just get there, you can drop your bags, and then you go, and you just get straight into the parks.
Yeah.
So
Next time.
We don't tend to use the express service because we like to go to our room and see that everything's okay with our room, and go and get our kettle from reception and see that everything's all right first. But you can get your luggage taken to the station on the way back. And that now costs €25, I think it still is, per room.
Yeah, you book it in the hotel, don't you?
Yeah, you just take it to the hotel. It used to be €11 per room, which was the bargain of the century. It's now 25, which is a heck of a hike, but it's still worth it if you want to just not have the bother going back to your hotel at the end.
I think it's worth every penny, to be honest with you. And the other thing, John, you were mentioning about Eurostar, is that currently the Eurostar is not stopping at Ebbsfleet or Ashford International. So if you are someone who doesn't want to go into central London to jump on the Eurostar, that then is now not an option for you. How long that will stay like that, we don't know. But if, for me, actually Ebbsfleet or Ashford is much preferable to going all the way up to London to come back on myself. But that's not an option just now. So people just need to be aware that if you plan to jump on later on in the journey, you can't at the moment.
Yeah, Claire, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that when we had our trip booked, and it was like, we were told by Eurostar they're expecting Ashford and Ebbsfleet to be added on soon, but then the quarantine came in, and Eurostar updated the website saying for the foreseeable future, it's not going to return.
I mean, there was all the issues around the train platform at Ashford and the new trains and all of that stuff anyway. But
yeah, because it never wouldn't fit and all of that.
So,
yeah.
I'm going to go next to Peter. Your tips and tricks.
My tips. Right. Lots of people have said what tips I was going to say, so I've had to think of some new ones. Don't miss out the arcades. You really have to go down the arcades, down the side of Main Street. They are beautifully decked out. They move forward and backwards in time. The lighting changes as it goes up. In one of them, there is tucked away a little vignette of New York and the Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty, yes.
Which people walk past and think it's a cast member area or something. So don't forget the arcades. When DLP does a hub show, it does a hub show. It goes round the hub and in the middle, which none of the others, as far as I know, do. And they're really, really good. They're really, really good and really worth waiting for. So, but I believe that the Jungle Book Jive is in one of the theatres this time. It's not actually outside this time. So
yeah, it's in the thing where Lights Motors Action was, I think.
Yes, it is. It's in the Lights Motors Action in the studios, and you have to book your place by Line Bertie.
Yeah,
that would work. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I think Peter, what you're saying about the central hub show, if there's so they usually have the Disney Stars on Parade, which is a bizarre name, 5:30. This is pre-COVID, pre-COVID time. And then it'd often have a seasonal parade, so whether that be Christmas, Pirates Princesses, Jungle Book Jive, whatever it looks like, several times through the day, and they happen like 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a day.
Yep.
And the thing to remember is they alternate direction each time they happen. So if it's Pirates and Princesses, the pirates start at the bottom of Main Street on parade 1, and then they'll start by Small World on parade 2, because obviously the floats have got to do the transit journey backwards and forwards. So if you want to see a particular part of that parade, you need to be in the right place. But they will stop in the hub and use the new
raised
areas in the hub. Yeah, so actually you can have an amazing 360 experience if you stand in the middle of the hub.
It is very, very different to any of the other places I've been. It really is a great show.
Yeah.
My other big tip is, if you are staying off site and you are staying in Manor Valley, get the train, don't get the buses. Get the train if you're staying in Manor Valley, don't get the buses.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And if you be careful when you get to the bus station, because last time we went, we got on a normal bus by mistake, because we came out of Manor Valley station and we were staying in Valdurup, and we got on a normal bus by mistake rather than a hotel bus. And it cost us €2, which wasn't so bad, I guess. But it went all the way round Valdurup.
Yeah.
I mean, it took us nearly an hour
Yeah.
to get from Manor Valley to Valdurup.
Yeah.
So what are they called, the buses? Pay buses? The pay buses have a name.
Oh, I can't remember now, but yeah.
Anyway, check it out. Don't go on a pay bus, go on a hotel bus.
Or get the RER, which frankly
RER.
would have been much easier for us. It would have been a 5-minute journey on the RER to our hotel. Okay, so Ben, what about you?
That's a difficult one. I'm going to say look into and investigate an annual pass. Just because when you break up and you look at packages and then think how many people are going to be there on your package you book through Disney holidays, and then break it down, are you going to visit more than once? Are you in sort of the UK and that you want to go more than once a year? Because we worked it out. We bought an Infinity Pass, a Magic Plus Pass, and it gave us discount on the room. And without transportation, it actually worked out £50 cheaper than it would if we booked through Disney holidays without a dining package for the entire thing. So now that gave us the 12 months of both of us being able to go into the parks and get even more reduced stays and discount on food. So it's just taking that extra bit of planning and working out financially what works best. And I'd recommend just using a spreadsheet like we normally do for planning.
No, you're right, Ben. Absolutely bang on. Because actually you just need to sit down and do the maths. So I had an Infinity Pass for a year, and within the space of 2 trips, so I did a 4-day trip when I bought the pass at the beginning of that 4-day trip, and then I did a 3-day trip. I had made back the cost of the pass and then some, just by the discounted room and the level of discounts that you get with an annual pass across restaurants, merchandise locations, things like Buffalo Bills. You get 20% off. You get privilege passes for your friends and family at a ridiculously reduced rate for a 2-park pass. And the good news is you can now book them online. You don't need to do it at the entrance to the park every morning, so it makes it much slicker, much quicker. I think the annual passes at Disneyland Paris, I hope nobody's listening, are an absolute steal if you're going to go more than once a year.
Yeah, can I also add in as well, Claire? Because actually, I think that's a really pertinent point about sort of 2 trips. But I also think as well, I think it offers so much more. And I think that's what gets missed in the whole thing here. Coming from a family that's bought more plush than is than is sane, but it is those discounts, and it gets missed when you're trying to do the sums on a trip to Disneyland Paris. I think I'd agree with you, Ben. Having heard what you've said tonight, and I really do feel that, you know, it's something that I think a lot of people in the UK really do need to sort of look at long and hard. And I think once you go once, you get bitten by a little bit of a bug, and it'll just round that whole thing together. And I think we'll all be going for an annual pass sort of basis as well.
And going back to what we were talking about earlier, how easy accessible DLP is from whether plane, car, train, ferry. It's just so easy for us to get there, and it's not particularly expensive when you compare to the likes of Disneyland Paris is a completely different trip to look at when you compare to Florida. Yeah. And a lot of people go, oh, why would I spend £1,000 when I can save up for another £1,000 and get a big chunk towards Florida? DLP is a completely different way of looking at it.
It is, but I've got to say I've always been guilty of saving up the extra pennies to go across a pond which has now got a no entry sign halfway across, which is why I'm fascinated by it now. You know, we've been there and we have enjoyed it, but going back to your point, I think as well, looking at the dining options, and if you're getting discount on your dining through an annual pass, again, it's not like being in Florida and getting the Floridian sort of dining plan either. You know, our holiday was meant to have a dining plan attached to it, and actually it's a bit of a pain because really it ties you down to too much either within your hotel and within certain restaurants. And I think Disneyland Paris actually offers cheaper options as to picking up a coffee and a pastry, picking up food as and when you want it, rather than being sort of defined to specific times as well. And I think we found that difficult in the planning for this. We had a restaurants booked, but actually they didn't really do it for everyone in the family. And I think that was a key. It's not like you've got to park the Florida stuff and park the whole sort of nth degree of planning of day of the week, etc. It's a different experience, but it's also an experience which actually it's much more fluid, and that's a benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at food, you're going to spend 2-3 hours for a sit-down meal.
Yeah.
Or in Florida, on average, you're 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, Ben, I'm glad you're telling me that now, man. Flip. Do you know, I've sat in Crystal Palace with the family before, having had the dining plan, and I've now been twitching. You know, and the family, what's the matter? So we're in Crystal Palace, in Magic Kingdom, at 9 a.m. and we're eating. We're not maxing out the time when the park is empty.
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic tip, I've got to say.
Yeah.
It really is. It depends how flexible you want to be.
Yeah.
We would happily go for breakfast at Starbucks.
Yeah.
They do a great €10 deal where you get small coffee, sort of a croissant garlic sort of roll, and a pastry as well, or pancakes. So it's really good value.
Yeah, it's worth saying actually that unless you have a dining plan, whether paid or free at DLP, breakfast in your hotel is an extra charge. And is quite a hefty charge. So that's fine if you're going to have a big buffet breakfast and not bother with lunch. But if all you want is a bowl of cereal and a piece of toast or something, then it's worth looking at other options.
I've got to say, Jill, and it was a great source of amusement to us, because going back probably 5 or 6 years, and we were staying at Sequoia, and breakfast was basically a case that everyone piled in. You had your breakfast, but it was the similar sort of cold meat, cheese, baguette, and the amount of people that were basically making it was pack up stations on every single table, and people just sort of getting themselves throughout the day, and they were leaving with probably leaving with more than they'd actually eaten for breakfast.
Yeah, and that's why they charge for it now.
Yeah.
That's why we can't have nice things.
I don't want a warm cheese sandwich at 4 hours later. Thank you very much.
Great.
But what it sends, the message I've always felt, and this is, you know, I'm on my high horse, so I'll stay there. But what kind of message does that send to your kids?
I know
this. I know I'm a cheapskate. I'll take the cheapest flight to here, there, and everywhere in the world. I would take the cheapest option on however I can find a holiday to Walt Disney World in particular, and Disneyland Paris.
It can't be very hygienic, can it?
I was going to say, as someone who's worked in the catering business as a chef and things, you're putting cold meat that should be in a fridge in bread and putting it in your bag. Come on,
that's wrong.
That is going to be in the danger zone.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're not allowed to sing that song because of copyright restrictions. So I will go straight past that, and I will ask Becca, what are your tips?
I think most people have covered all of the ones that I had. Ben mentioned the great deals you can get at some of the quick service restaurants out and about. So I think my biggest one would be to actually give Sleeping Beauty's castle a nice good explore. Upstairs, you can actually go upstairs in Cinderella's castle, have a look at the lovely stained glass windows that tell the story of Sleeping Beauty. They're absolutely gorgeous. And then you can go downstairs. It's not for the faint of heart because there is a dragon in the basement. And I don't mean your mother-in-law.
It's a funny running joke we have every time we go to the park.
Brilliant. I love that.
Do you know something? For all you get, all that sort of that last wording through all of those knockouts in the previous shows, that beats it. It really does. It really does. And when my missus listens to this show, she'll equally share that moment.
Becca's a woman of few words, but when when she comes out with it, they count.
I have one final tip that I didn't say that I meant to say, and that is walk around with your eyes open, because Disneyland Paris is beautiful. It's designed to look beautiful. It is designed to be a beautiful park, particularly Fantasyland, which is split into different European countries. There's so much green, there's so many flowers, there's so much to look at. Don't just run from one ride to another. Walk around with your eyes open.
So easy to walk around with your phone, especially at current times, because everything's operated from it.
Yeah.
When there is no park maps you can pick up, you have to use the app.
Yeah.
When you go to a restaurant, you have to scan the QR code, which is a bit confusing sometimes when only one of you is using your phone because the other one might have died. So you're trying to share the menu between your phone.
Yeah,
we did have that one.
Which is maybe another little thing is if you have got the chance, just buy one of them power bank things from Amazon before you leave, because and I know that's an absolute godsend. And I totally agree with you, Peter. And I think if anybody who is planning a trip, and I think I'm going off the top of my head, is it episode 5 of the Imagineering story, where when they were talking about how they actually went about designing Disneyland Paris, but the amount of gold that they actually put into an awful lot of the castle, the detailing in that, and I've got to say, watching that really added an awful lot to my personal understanding of how much money had been spent by Disney in actually producing what is there to see. And previously, I'd thought it was I previously thought it was done very much on the cheap, because Disney were very much sort of skint at the time, but they absolutely went over the top, and they've probably spent more in creating Disneyland Paris than possibly any other sort of park visually. And I think your advice there, Peter, I think is great, because you've got to look out for it. And I think Becca, you mentioned about the stained glass windows. Yeah, they are absolutely stunning.
I think the other thing, John, is, as you were saying, that it's beautiful. If people are interested in the history of Disneyland Paris, you can actually do a tour in the Disneyland park itself. You can book it at the City Hall. It's about 65, 69 euros, something like that. It takes between 2 and 3 hours. Last time I did it with a friend, it was literally the two of us and a cast member, and we could choose where we went, and it was amazing. I've done it twice and had slightly different information each time. So it's not particularly expensive, and you get to learn all those little details. They point out the most beautiful corners that you may not have noticed.
Yep.
So if you're someone who likes that detail, you're not going to go backstage, but it does talk about how the park was constructed, why it was constructed in the way it is. It will walk you through each of the lands and why they are as they are. So I can wholeheartedly recommend doing that.
At the time that we did it, you got a badge to finish with, which was nice, and you also got a special place to stand for the parade.
Yeah, I don't think they do
I don't think they're doing that anymore, but you never know, they might bring it back.
And I think I'm right in saying you can still get annual pass discount on the tours.
You absolutely can, yes.
So if you do have an annual pass, that's another benefit.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's a really good tour.
I can just see John sort of crunching the numbers now, thinking maybe I need to look up an annual pass.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I will add my tips. I've got one very specific one, which is unless you have mobility problems or really can't walk more than about 10 minutes, in which case you probably have problems going around DLP anyway, don't bother with the buses. Because even the Santa Fe and the Cheyenne are really only 15 minutes walk away. I mean, yeah, if it's chucking it down with rain, you know, and there happens to be a bus just as you get there, fine, jump on it. But more often than not, the buses are overcrowded. You get shoved to the ground on running for the bus. You get shoved out of the way. And it really is a lovely walk. It's a 15-minute walk down the river, and it's a very pretty walk. And frankly, when you leave the park, by the time you walk to the bus stop, you could be halfway through the village, which would enable you to pop into one of the shops on the way.
I have to say, Jill, we used the bus twice this time where we've never done before. And I know it was probably because of COVID, they were empty.
Yeah.
We waited 5 minutes each time.
Yeah. I mean, if it's empty.
Feeling lazy.
I have to admit, it was especially on the way back, because we'd left luggage at the hotel in the luggage room. We didn't pay for the express. We went back there after lunch. And like literally got the luggage, went to the bus, and within 5 minutes we were on it and we were at the station. So I don't know how many people will use it, but that walk is really nice though.
Yeah. Should we just talk about Disney Village and the 90s wonder of aluminium and fluorescent colours that is Disney Village?
Oh.
It's growing on me.
It's not growing on me.
No.
I like the merchandise in the shops.
Yeah, I think I bought some Legos, so I was sort of distracted, so it's
okay.
fine.
It's easily distracted.
So it is due for an update, hopefully next year, maybe the year after. They're hopefully going to rip the whole thing down and start again. But it is this monstrosity of metal and slippery floors. So I would suggest that people don't envisage something like Disney Springs. It's really not like that. But there are some great bargains you can buy in the shops.
I hope they keep World of Disney. World of Disney is a beautiful store. It's very art deco.
Yeah, that's brand new though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That World of Disney Vapianos and Five Guys is,
and I
is
hope they
new.
keep Earl of Sandwich as it is, because that again is a very beautiful art deco style building. And for me, if they did the rest of the village as an art deco kind of 1920s Paris feel, it could look absolutely gorgeous.
See, I think they're missing a trick. I think they should have a hotel near the Disney Village, which is a 1920s Paris hotel. I think they could absolutely build something really stunning there. However, they can't fill the hotels they've got at the moment, so that's not on the cards. But I agree. I think there's Disney Village is it's a sad reflection of what it once was in 1992. Hurricanes nightclub is no more, but the stairwell is still there.
You live in hope, Claire. Do
you know what? I remember going and seeing people queued up that stairwell. That is like an external fire escape stairwell, and then people were queued all the way up there to get in at the top floor. And I know we've mentioned it before, but the bathrooms next to the sports cafe are really quite rough. But the outside seating area near the sports cafe, which in the winter has external heaters on, is really nice, actually.
Yeah,
You can
it is,
some high top tables, and you can sit out there, have a drink, have something to eat. Sports Cafe does really good food. It's at the back of the menu if you haven't noticed. And it's really quite nice to sit there in the warmth, in sitting outside. They tend to have big sports games or golf or whatever up on the big screen. They do show the Six Nations rugby during the tournament. I've never been known to watch a rugby game there. So yeah, I think Disney Village is thematically probably not the most modern. It will be replaced, but it's functional. Is that?
Do you think it'll happen once they finish sort of studios?
Yeah, I think it will happen at the same time.
They'll just use the bulldozer that they've used in studios and just sort of drive it through.
The other thing is they do have little. They do tend to have small food carts in Disney Village as well, so you can always get toffee apples and pretzels, and in the winter you get mulled wine and exactly, and you can get some really cute little desserts. If you're in a restaurant, you don't want to hang around for dessert, you can grab something as you walk through Disney Village. It's quite nice.
Yeah, one time we went, they were selling Mediterranean soap. Soap. Selling soap from.
That's not a dessert.
Marseille.
No, but they were selling soap from Marseille.
Saying that, there were some Disney candles being sold as well.
Yeah.
Which were very overpriced.
Yeah. Like the spray in the Disneyland Hotel that's like €70 a spray bottle.
These small little candles were about €25 each, and that was for the smallest one. I'd stick with maple and whiskey.
Yeah. I would too, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially with our Mickey Waffle discount code.
Yes, exactly.
Seamless there. So, I'm going to finish with my biggest tip, which is people often say, "Oh, does it compare to Walt Disney World? Is it the same magic?" I would say, no, it's not. And if you go expecting American parks and American food and American style customer service and American customs, you won't get what you're looking for, and even American weather. But it has its own magic. It is purely a European experience. It's a very different experience. And if you go with an open mind and open eyes, you will fall in love with a very, very different experience. It's strange that people look at things like Tokyo or Shanghai and they think, well, obviously that's a completely different country and different culture, so I'm not expecting the park to be the same. But quite often people look at Paris and they think, well, it ought to be like America. No. So things like food. French people, on the whole, don't snack much because it gets in the way of their 3-course 2-hour lunch and their 3-course 2-hour dinner. So don't expect to find a stunning array of snacks, although there are snacks available at DLP. But think like the French. Go for a nice, long, leisurely evening's meal where the meal is your entertainment. It's what you're going to do all evening. You sit and relax and you have a glass of wine and a nice steak and just take it easy. And just go with the flow.
You're right there, Jill. Do as the Romans do. You go to a country, you want to sort of immerse yourself in sort of the culture and everything, and just, I don't know, this trip was completely different to what we've done before. We didn't have much of a plan because the only plan we had was what would happen if it got cancelled. And it was just...
He's lying, we didn't even have a plan for that.
No, there was so many options, but yeah. But then it was like we got there and we just thought, what do we do? We had one meal booked, which was Chez Remy, which, the more I look back on it, the more I wish it was a bit better than what we got, but we'd probably try it again. But yeah, it was just not having much of a plan. We didn't even know what park we're going to, what day, just what we felt like doing that morning.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of Walt Disney World, where it's a military operation. Yeah. You know, your fast passes, your ADRs, what days are busiest, quietest. And it just, maybe that's what also helped the trip feel more magical.
See, Jill, your words there were absolutely superb. And I think that's a really lovely way of describing what Disneyland Paris should be. You know, it's no preconceptions, it's no comparisons to other Disney parks. It's unique in its own way, and I think that's where I hope a lot of people listening to this would take a little bit of spark as to a future trip. It's certainly something I've learnt loads tonight. This is great. I've really enjoyed listening to all of your experiences. I've only ever been to Disneyland Paris twice, and I think there is, because it's on our doorstep. I think we take it more for granted, don't we?
Also, it is more affordable than people think. It's very easy to look at the website and see something that costs, £1,500, blah, blah, blah. And people go, not paying that, could go to Florida. And what they don't realise is that they're looking at the equivalent of a week at the Grand Floridian or something like that. Yeah. There are cheaper options. There are cheaper ways to do it. There are dozens of off-site hotels that are within really easy reach. There are ways to travel that are less expensive. There are tips and tricks like try going during the week instead of on a weekend, which is always a good thing to bear in mind anyway, because weekends at DLP tend to be crazy because, like California, it's very much a locals park and all the locals come on the weekend. So if you can go during the week and if you can avoid public holidays, French, Spanish, Italian public holidays, so things like Ascension Day, those are good to avoid as well.
We're guilty of it. By a few years ago, just went on to DLP's website and thought, let's not go Florida this year, let's have a look at DLP. As we did, £1,500 Disneyland Hotel. Thought, I'm not going there, that's way too expensive. So we booked for Florida that year.
Yeah.
Do you have any hidden gems, Jill? Things that people may not have realised were there or thought were accessible to them that you think they shouldn't miss?
In terms of things in the park or in terms of...
across the resort. So for me, I'll say that I think that people don't realise you can go into the resorts. Same as America, you don't realise you can go into the resorts even if you're not staying there. So going into the Disneyland Hotel, popping upstairs to Cafe Fantasia and either having an afternoon tea or an amazing hot chocolate or an alcoholic beverage is an accessible option for people, and it's really lovely in there. You get to experience the whole hotel. Much like the Redwood Bar at Sequoia Lodge is stunningly beautiful, particularly in the winter. To sit there by the open fire is amazing. So if you get the opportunity to do that, I think they're kind of hidden because they're not overtly in front of your face, So I just wondered if you had any other particular hidden gems for Disneyland Paris, because finding a quiet place, a quiet corner just to enjoy being there, I think is half the fun. Cafe Fantasia always has the pianist playing in the evening, which is amazing. Yeah,
and I have to admit that if I'm frazzled and hot or cold or wet during the day, I will sometimes nip into Cafe Hyperion, Videopolis. Not to go to Cafe Hyperion, which always has the stupidly long queues, but just to sit on a bench and watch the cartoons and get a drink out of the vending machine and just chill. Talking of which, I discovered last time that if you buy a stupidly priced bottle of Coke, because sometimes it's hot and you get annual pass discount if you buy them in a shop, but not from food vendor. Because I went into, is it Star Traders?
Yeah.
The shop near Star Tours anyway. And I bought a bottle of Coke there and I got annual pass discount. Whereas when I tried to get them from a food vendor, I didn't.
No.
Similarly, you get annual pass discount in the shops, but not from the cart.
Correct.
That's by Victoria's.
So talking of Victoria's has a lovely outside seating area, which is just opposite the entrance to the restaurant. And it's like a little external garden next to Plaza Gardens. And you can sit there outside, watch the parade go by, glass of wine, late afternoon. It is absolutely perfect. They do Mickey Waffles, they do sundaes. You can grab an ice cream from the ice cream parlour if you want to. But it's a real gem that I didn't even know about until probably 3 years ago. But I reckon that's a nice place to spend an hour at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
We had a really, really bad experience with that last time, unfortunately, in that something was wrong and they were trying to close and people weren't getting served. People were sitting inside for almost an hour waiting for their food. Meanwhile, people were outside in the boiling hot weather, and it really wasn't good. And they weren't using the outside seating for some reason. So that wasn't good. But I do want to get back there because it's a lovely place. Well, thanks, guys. That was a really brilliant discussion, and I hope people have picked up some good tips and tricks for their next or their first trip to Disneyland Paris. And now it's time for our Carousel of Questions. If you heard last month's show, and if you didn't, why not? You will know that we decided to involve our extended family in the Disney community, and we invited some of our favourite podcasters, bloggers and vloggers to take part. This month, our first contribution is from Nathan Staker. Nathan is based in the UK and he's a keen Florida vlogger.
If you're ready, Nathan, here's your Carousel of Questions. First one, what's your favourite park?
Epcot.
Tell me a ride that you hate.
Ooh, Primeval Whirl. Primeval Hurl, that's his nickname.
What's the most overrated snack?
Ooh. Mickey Waffle. Maybe.
What's your oh god, you've got time to check.
I'm doubting myself now.
Yeah.
Pretzel. Actually, I'm changing my answer. Pretzel. Mickey Pretzel.
Okay. You're allowed to change. Question 4. What's your favourite transportation mode at Walt Disney World?
Monorail.
Tell me your favourite table service restaurant at Disney.
Teppan Edu.
What's a resort that you haven't stayed in but want to more than anything else on Earth?
Polynesian.
What's your favourite car park?
Oh god. Magic Kingdom.
Typhoon, Blizzard Beach or Volcano Bay?
Volcano Bay.
Galaxy's Edge or Diagon Alley?
Diagon Alley, definitely.
Early morning or late night park visit?
I would say both, but probably late night.
Keep the magic or backstage detail?
Backstage detail, definitely.
What's your favourite other podcast or vlogger about Disney?
Oh, it's got to be that UK Disney couple.
Okay, and the last one, on-site or off-site?
On site.
Excellent. Thanks, Nathan. That was brilliant.
And you can find Nathan on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. For our second Carousel of Questions, we talked to Zoe from The British Life. Zoe's a big fan of Florida and has many vlogs on her channel from there, but she also has videos from New York, Costa Rica, and of course, given her channel title, various parts of the UK too.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay. Question 1. Favourite park?
Animal Kingdom.
Question 2. Ride that you hate.
Oh, it's a small world. It's torture.
Okay. Question 3. Most overrated snack?
Mickey Premium Bar.
Question 4. Favourite transportation mode in Walt Disney World?
Oh, wow. It's probably the ferry boat. I love starting and ending the day by catching the ferry boat into Magic Kingdom.
Question 5. Favourite table service restaurant?
In Walt Disney World or within the parks?
In Walt Disney World. So parks and
Disney World.
resorts.
Ohana.
Question 6. Resort you haven't stayed at but want to more than anything on earth?
Polly.
It's really nice.
Yeah, I visit and it's almost like looking through sort of a window of a toy shop for like a child. It's like, oh, yeah, one day.
Okay, question 7. Favourite car park?
Oh, Epcot.
Question 8. Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach or Volcano Bay?
Volcano Bay.
Okay, question 9. Galaxy's Edge or Diagon Alley?
Oh, Diagon Alley, but
Yay.
that's close.
Question 10. Early morning or late night park visit?
Late nights.
Okay, question 11. Keep the magic or backstage detail?
Oh, backstage detail.
Question 12. A favourite other podcast or vlogger about Disney?
I watch a lot of Crispy Small. I know they've not done sort of Disney trips for a while, obviously other than California, but yeah, it all started with Crispy Small.
And last one, on-site or off-site?
Oh, I always stay off-site. However, it is more magical staying on-site. So yeah, I've only ever done it once, but yeah, I would recommend staying on-site definitely.
Yeah, it's one of those things, once you've stayed on site, it just creates a different atmosphere to the trip.
It becomes harder to stay off site.
It does,
Yeah.
It really does. And I only stayed at All Star Music, so it wasn't even like one of the moderates or anything like that. But yeah, it is nice being in the bubble.
It's just being able to get that bus and just go to anywhere you want, and it's just, the transportation makes it so easy.
It does.
It's like
There's a convenience.
We've
to
never
it.
hired a car out there yet, and
Yeah.
that's probably because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we probably will hire a car this year, just because with everything going on, I'm not sure about with social distancing and how long the queues are for the buses.
That's very true. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Especially when parks close, I don't know, at 9 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
And
could you imagine?
everyone piling out of the park and going back to a resort.
Kids with buggies.
Was it one wheelchair per
One
bus?
wheelchair per bus.
Yeah.
They're going to get really crowded really quickly.
After since we bought into DVC a few years ago, we've stayed was it Coronado last year?
We did.
Yeah, stayed at Coronado last year,
Nice.
and I don't know what it is. It was just that extra bit difference you notice between different resorts.
Yeah.
It's like we missed just certain homely bits that from other resorts that we stay at, but the Poly is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Even just like the entrance lobby, just like walking in, it's got this almost atmosphere about it that the other resorts don't have. Yeah, it's lovely. I love it. And the torches, and the beach.
Oh,
yeah,
Oh
it's
god, that
amazing.
beach.
Mm.
Your most overrated snack is the same as a lot of other people's.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a lot of people say that. Mickey Premium
Yeah.
Bar.
we've had a few Mickey
I-
pretzels, I think, as well.
A couple of turkey
Yeah.
necks.
Oh yeah,
I'd never had a Mickey Premium Bar until one of my friends is DVC, and we went to one of the Moonlight Magic events. And obviously, it's unlimited Mickey
Yeah.
bars, isn't it? So I was like, oh, I'm so excited to try one of these. And I was just like, it's like a choc ice.
Yeah. I prefer the ice cream sandwich, I think, to the
Yeah.
premium bar. Just was it Moonlight Magic we went to? It was
Typhoon Lagoon.
Typhoon Lagoon one. And
Yeah.
literally everywhere you go is like, here's an ice cream, here's some drink.
Yes.
And you can find Zoe on YouTube at The British Life, and also on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Both Zoe and Nathan also take part regularly in a YouTube Disney-based group chat show called Saturday Night Discussions, which has been known to feature some of our fellow wafflers on occasion too. Well, thanks guys. It's been really good to chat, and I think that's about it for this month. Now, dear listener, if you wish to hear more, you can subscribe to our podcasts on a number of apps, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can find them and more on our YouTube channel. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at GB Mickey Waffle, or drop us a message at themickeywaffle@gmail.com. And we've got a new website that we are developing for you to explore as well. So all I have to say is, from all of us, waffle
Waffle
on.
on.